We're live in one, two, three.
Okay. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our weekly COVID Q&A session. This week, we have a special guest, Delroy Davis. He is a native of Jamaica, West Indies, married 40 years with 4 adult children. He studied at Tuskegee Institute and Virginia Tech, and he worked as a field service computer technician for 11 years and taught in the New York City public school system for 13 years. But currently, he is an advisor in financial services for the last 22 years. So you may ask, why this COVID Q&A, why are we bringing on someone to talk about financial wellness? Well, this pandemic has affected all of us financially. And certainly if you've been hospitalized, if you've been ill with COVID, if you've had to take time off from work, if you've had children who have gotten sick and then you have to take time off, you go back to work, then the other child gets sick and then you have to take off again. Certainly the housing crisis, the rental crisis, the eviction crisis. So many ways this pandemic has affected us financially. So Delroy is going to speak to us this evening about financial wellness. So let's everyone welcome him to this platform. We're grateful to have you and to receive the information that you are going to present to us tonight. Welcome, Delroy. I'll turn it over to you now.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Crony, and thank you very much for the entire Relume team. I just want to congratulate you on the great job that you are doing, not only in the local community, but internationally. I can see this program really going a far way in helping people beyond our local borders in a very, very significant way. So I just want to thank you for granting me this opportunity to just come and share a little bit about handling our finances. Now, we know that it is known that this is one of the most advanced countries in the Western Hemisphere, if not in the world. However, recently we saw that when we had the closing of the country a few years ago, and even more recently during the pandemics, we realized that there were so many people who were devastated financially because they didn't have much funds. Now, why was it really so? It's not because many of us did not earn enough money, but we did not understand how to handle our finances. And that's why it's so important for us to really just look into what we can do to tweak our finances a little bit, that whenever there are crises, we can still make it through without having to depend too much on others. And now, one of the things that we have, some of the things that we have looked at is how many people have been carrying debts, because this is one of the main reasons why many of us cannot really see our way through in case of a temporary deficit in our finances. Okay, so we can see here that the average household carries over $16,000 in credit card debts. 40% of Americans do not have life insurance. Nearly 60% of the Americans do not have as much as $1,000 in their savings account. Over a third of the Americans are afraid of making a purchase of just $100 because this would max out their credit card. 40% say that they have less than $25,000 for retirement. Just take a moment and think about this. The average American may be earning $50,000 per year, and something should happen and they are not working, or they come into retirement where whatsoever they are earning is going to be significantly reduced. Just think about the devastation that there would be. Okay, nearly 80% of Americans say that they are living just from paycheck to paycheck. So when we see these informations, we realize how important it is for us to really have or monitor our finances, that it can work better for us. So these are some of the things that we are going to be looking at this afternoon. How can we go about monitoring or handling our finances that it can work a little better for us? Okay, now the question is, why are we in such why are we having such financial challenges? Some of the reasons are we do not have someone really guiding us as to where to handle our finances. So we spend what monies that we don't have, as we just looked at a while ago. So the question is, how can we avoid some of these things? Okay. Sorry. We need to look at, first of all, we need funds to take care of our day-to-day needs, for traveling, like what Dr. Sharia Dawson is doing right now. And also, we don't need to just be spending and working all the time, but we need to really take some time out to really treat ourselves. Because as it has been said, too much work and no play will make John a dull boy. So we really need to take some time off to get some rest, okay, and in that case to spend some money on ourselves. Now, how do we go about saving towards these needs? We should have at least 3 different types of savings. The first is really a short-term, or what we call emergency saving. These are funds that if your car breaks, if you have something happens around the house, if you, in case of your boiler breaks, your roof goes, and so forth, then you should have some source from which you can really take this money instead of using that plastic. Because we know that plastic, as we know, the rates on plastics are so high, and in many cases we are paying so much on these that we do not have enough to really save. Secondly, we should have monies for what we call intermediate saving. This may be down payment on anticipated expenses, but something that will take that we will need maybe in 3, 4, 5 years. But these are things that we know will be coming. If we can save towards them ahead of time, then when the time comes, instead of financing everything, or financing the entire car, financing the entire whatsoever it may be, at least we can have some of our own money to spend and reduce the amount that we need to finance. Thirdly, we need to have some amount of funds put away for retirement, for children's education, for final expenses. These are what we call long-term saving. The question is, if we are just working from paycheck to paycheck, we don't have enough money to take care of all our bills, how are we going to be able to put away money for these needs? One of the ways in which we can do it is if we can get a part-time income. That means work an extra hour or two on the job if they will permit you to, Many of us, when we do that, we actually go and spend a little more. As we have learned in our church every week, we should live beneath our means until we are financially secure. In saying so, what I would encourage a person to do is that extra part-time income, that overtime income, under normal condition, you would not have that income. Pretend like you're not getting that income, so you put away that for in a special savings plan. Don't spend it. This is what you're going to use in emergency cases. Now, sometimes we may say, look, we don't have enough money to even to do that, or we are not able to get that part-time income or that overtime income. Another thing that we can do is if we have homeowners insurance, car insurance, we can ask the insurance company to re-underwrite our insurance policies. In fact, just recently, we were able to reduce one of our insurances, our homeowners insurance, by over $800. There's another one that we're able to reduce by over $700. So they will do that sometimes if you ask. If not, you can even look into other companies. Okay, so these are just two of the many ways in which we can free up money. Some of us are spending on cables at home that we don't have the time to watch. Some of us may have these high debts, as I mentioned before, and even for these debts, if we have several credit card debts, for example, instead of making an extra payment on this and an extra payment on that and so forth, what we suggest that you do is find the one that has the highest interest rate. And that from working with clients, I realize that many people do not know what's their interest rate on their credit cards. It's very important for you to know that. Once you know what's the interest rates, find out with the one that has the highest interest rate, any extra payment you're going to make each month must be added to just that one. All the others should be just the minimum payments should be made. And this goes for the people who are making extra payments each month. Now, once you've finished paying off that with the highest interest rate, then the one with the next highest interest rate, you add all the monies that were on the first to that second one. And you'll find that you'll accelerate the payment much, much faster. Once you are done paying down your credit cards, and if you can reduce, abstain from using it for a few months, all that money that you have been spending on the credit card, you add that to some savings plan. One of the ways in which we can save if we are not very disciplined on saving is to have the bank draft that money each month without us seeing it. In other words, your paycheck goes to the bank. You have an agreement that each month the bank will take a $25, $50, $100, whatever it may be, and add it to some savings plan. That's a good way to start saving if you are not able to do it on your own by sending or by going to the bank to deposit that money. Okay, now we have mentioned the re-underwriting. We have mentioned looking into how we can reduce our expenses by paying down our debts. We have looked at how we can make extra income if possible. And there are a few other things that we encourage a person to do. You know, sometimes you may have things delivered to your home and somebody take away whatever is yours. Somebody may break into the house and cause extra expense as a result. Your insurance goes up and so forth. It's very good to have some type of security system that can monitor those. It may cost a little more, but in the long run, it's worth it. Okay, you can have the monitors. Also, we encourage everybody, instead of when our eyes are closed, instead of too many people and the government and everybody and attorneys dipping into what you've got for your loved ones, it's good for you to have a will. That will whatsoever is in that will let everybody know, or your loved ones know, what should happen to your assets when you're gone. And as a result, you don't have to go through some of the legalities, or they don't have to go through some of the legalities to access those assets. Okay? Talking about will, I realize that many people keep their will as well as their advance directives in a safety box in the post office. It's not a good idea, especially for your advance directives. That means that's a legal document that tells what should happen just in case you cannot make decisions on your own and somebody wants to pull the plug and there's a fight because someone said don't. Okay? If it's in a safety deposit box, nobody can access it, and that can be a problem. That's a little sidebar, but that's very important. Overall, we encourage everybody to prepare or to follow a budget. In other words, know exactly how much money is coming in, know exactly where it's going, and by comparing from month to month, sometimes you find that money is going away frivolously. As a result, you can start to trim back on some of the places that the monies are going, and in that case, you can save. As a result of doing that saving, then you can have a little more put away for whether it's your own golden years or for your to enjoy your life a little better by going on some of these vacations or whatever your financial goal may be. But even more importantly, whenever there is a financial calamity, at least it would make us a little in a little better position. And also it will prevent our loved ones from going through the embarrassment of having to do the GoFundMe if in the case of an early demise. So I trust that some of these points will help someone. And if anyone has any direct question, I don't know if Dr. Truly
Yes.
or Dr. Adioson will entertain a few questions.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you, Delroy, for that very informative information, just hitting home the point. One of the things that I would say is that we don't intuitively know about our financial wellness. And the point that Delroy made at the beginning is that we have to be taught. And so often we don't recognize that this is an area of education that we need to be educated in. And so we just, follow what generations have done before us, but it doesn't mean that it's right or that was the right way to go. So unless we're educated about our finances, we can make these mistakes and fall into these situations that Delroy mentioned. So I'm so grateful that we have this opportunity to speak to him. So if anyone has any questions, would you please, yes, Sharon, you raise your hand. Please unmute yourself and go ahead, unmute yourself. Yes, go ahead.
Hi, brother Delroy. Question, you had spoke about renegotiating your homeowner's insurance. What would that be based on to lower it?
Okay. As an example of one that we did just recently, we looked at it, and first, usually when you have your insurance underwritten, the first year, sometimes some slight things each year, the insurance companies gradually increase it, and many of us do not monitor it. Now, if we monitor it, we find that it has been elevated, the premium has been elevated. Number one, we can call the company and say, look, I see my premium has increased by $200, $300, $500 a year. Why is it so? I would like you to re-underwrite it. Many of them realizing that you may want to go to another company and they do not want you to leave and go to another company. And as a result, they will go and say, okay, I can eliminate this, I can eliminate that. But at the same time, you just make sure that all the important areas are covered within that policy.
Okay. Okay, gotcha. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions from the group? One of the things that, for the young people just starting off, even some of the teenagers that may have some small jobs and things like that, it's never too early to start the practice of saving. And, the same way that we're taught to tithe, and I see Pastor Bev Sherrod on here tonight. Welcome, welcome, welcome. But, in our church, we teach tithe and give the Lord an offering as the first principle, and then pay yourself. Okay, so that's one of the things that we need to teach our young people and even ourselves, is to pay ourselves. So we tithe and give the Lord an offering, and we pay our bills, and we save systematically. So we need to learn how to pay ourselves and how to ignore that money that we have saved for ourselves, because as Delroy mentioned, there are three categories of savings that you should have. One is emergency. So God forbid something happens and you need some funds right away, rather than, circling around to different people and trying to borrow money and go all of those different directions. If you have saved and invested some monies for emergency situation, then you won't feel as stressed. One of the sayings that I learned is, failing to plan is planning to fail.
That's right.
So you have to be wise, and you have to plan ahead. Okay. And so for the young adults and folks that are on here, so, maybe you want to skip that week going to get your nails done and do your nails yourself, and, and put that money away and save that money. Okay. Those are just little things. I'm sure Delroy has many other things. Go ahead.
Yes. Well, you just touched on something very important, and this is something that is reiterated at our church every single Sunday. Pay your bills on time. Now, I have also met some people who they say, okay, my mortgage is due on the 1st, but I don't have to pay any penalty until the 16th, so I'm going to wait until the 15th or the 16th to pay my bills. Although you don't pay that extra penalty when you pay after that first, when it is due, as long as it's not pay, as long as it does not reach the company the day of the due date, as long as it's not there, the due date, it is regarded as being late. And as a result, if you are, because they report it to the credit bureau as being late, if you need to borrow money in the future, you're going to find that your as a result of your credit score being reduced, you're going to find that you have to pay higher interest rate on any loans that you're borrowing. And sometimes we may not know. We find that our interest rate is higher than another person's, but we don't know why. sometimes this is one of the things that can happen or can affect your credit rating.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Any other questions in the group, concerns? You know, because everybody has to start somewhere. So everyone starts someplace. And this is the first day. This may be the first day of your first step in achieving financial wellness. And so, you know, so ask your questions, don't be embarrassed. This is, you know, the platform that we have available so that you can have your questions answered. This is how we learn, is because we speak about these things. Lots of times these, you know, finances are not discussed, just the same way mental health and social ills are not discussed. All right, but this is our opportunity to discuss and to bring to the forefront just what's happening. COVID has exposed a lot of things among our community. The debt crisis, the housing crisis, the food insecurity. People are waiting on food pantry lines. Look at the cost of food now in the supermarket. Look at the cost of gasoline. Gasoline is almost $5 a gallon. Okay, so, and this is all because COVID, you know, has brought these things out. But if we don't talk about how to overcome and solutions to what's happening, then we will continue to remain behind. But we have this chance, this opportunity to talk, and that's why we have Delroy on the platform. People get sick in the hospital with COVID, and I've heard many stories of the primary breadwinner is in the hospital sick with COVID, and the family is struggling. They don't know what to do. Things were not set in order. They failed to plan. So now is our opportunity to plan ahead so that, God forbid, anything happen, things are set in place. You have that emergency fund, whether it be $50, whether it be $100, whether it be $1,000, whatever that fund is, but you have to start someplace. So you start today, okay? You say, I'm not gonna buy that water from the vending machine that's $2 a bottle, okay? When I can either bring my water from home, okay? And that goes along with planning, all right? So if you know that you're gonna be out and about, all right, instead of planning to spend that money at the vending machine, take your water with you, okay? Take your sandwich with you so that you don't have to spend that money. That money can then go into savings. And if you add it up, like if you're going to work 5 days a week and you're spending $2 a day, that's $10 a week that you've spent just on water. And you could have brought that water from home, or you could have bought it at the supermarket or someplace else for a lesser cost than it would be for getting it out of the vending machine. So these are just some of, in my mind, some of the simple things or ways that we can start to put savings aside and start our way to financial wellness and financial freedom, okay? Because ultimately that's where we want to go, is to financial freedom. You know, this country, there was a Black Wall Street in Oklahoma back in the day, and it was very successful. So this is not something that is new to our culture. All right, we've had that history of success before. Of course, if anyone has read the story of what happened to Black Wall Street, others were jealous of the success that Black people had, and they actually dropped bombs on the area that was known as Black Wall Street, to destroy our movement towards financial freedom. But we can go there again, okay? Nothing is stopping us from getting there again. You take small steps, small baby steps. It starts with thinking, being conscious about your spending, and being conscious about putting monies away, and developing that habit of not touching that money that you've set aside for that rainy day or that emergency. Okay, and then you can go on from there, and not have these issues. Sherry, you have a question?
Actually, no, I don't have a question. I have a comment.
Okay.
Just the two things. When you mentioned about the importance of when you bring your food from lunch, from home, for lunch, it saves you a lot of money. It's so true. Recently, we started something at my job where I realized that over a span of like 4 or 5 weeks, I just was counting how much about 4 of us in my team that were spending on lunch. I'm like, this is crazy. We need to do something differently. So we started doing what we call potluck. And each one, we just bring whatever is left over from the previous night and we share it. Now, it just continues to expand. More people are like interested as we spread our leftovers that are now looking great the next morning, in the next lunchtime. So that's one way. Also, I would say this, Mr. Delroy, a couple of years ago, actually about 17 years ago or so now, started us on a mutual fund. At that time, of course, our income level was way low, but we were dedicated. We just continued to save. I can't remember how much at that time, maybe 300 per month. It was difficult, but we continued to do it. And then we won't forget about the money. Years down the road, I don't know, maybe we're trying to buy a house or something. I don't know what we're trying to do, but we look back, it was like crazy, amount that was there. So when you start putting little away, you'll be surprised how much it's gonna grow. Even if it's just dollars every month, $30 every month. The most important thing is the consistency of what you're doing. Like you do $100 this month and the next 10 months you don't do anything. And also remember, when you put your money in mutual fund, you get, I don't know if you spoke about that in detail, but you get the opportunity to even be a part holder of big companies, that you can spread it across the board, and that enhances how much your money will grow over the years. So if you're interested in doing anything like that, not that I'm trying to push his business, but this is something that we have done, my husband and I, and my kids, 2 of my kids are actually investing in mutual fund now. As young as they are, I'm like, you start working, make $100, you're going to put something away every month. So nothing is too small. Nobody is too young. Nobody is too old. Baby step will make a difference in your life. To be surprised. It's cumulative and it makes a difference.
Yes.
So that's just my
Yes, thank you.
Yes,
Pastor Bev, can you unmute yourself? Pastor Bev, I see your hand raised.
Okay, unmute.
Okay,
Can you
great.
hear me? Hi, everybody.
Yes, we can hear you now. Welcome.
This is so juicy. This is so good. Delroy Davis, this is so good. And Raloom, I applaud you all so much. And let me say this. This is so important today, especially for us as a people. Like Dr. Croney said, many have not been taught how the importance of money and what to save and how to invest wisely. And that's why we have to go GoFundMe and all this stuff when we get caught out there. I'm not talking about legitimate issues, definitely not. But some people, just because of their mismanagement of money, get in trouble when there's a situation. And so it's important that, what I learned when I was dying? I learned what really was important, and my nails were not important. You understand what I'm saying? It sounds funny, right?
Yes.
But when I knew I was going to live and I came home and I added up my little nail bill for the year, over $900, I have not been back since.
Amen.
money, rerouting that money somewhere else,
Yes.
doing my own nails. And nobody sees my nails. You pass me on Sunday, you may get a glimpse or not, I don't know. But it doesn't matter because I'm being wise.
Yes.
Not almost $1,000 every 2 weeks for what?
Yes.
You know? And so you have to look at what don't you have to, what something you don't need, let go of it. And I always think, I said, what would Zuckerberg do with this money here? And think of how he's walking around in a t-shirt and we're trying to get designer clothes and all this stuff. This man was driving a Volkswagen and wearing t-shirts and jeans.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes. Yes.
We invest when the bill comes during the month.
Yes. Yes.
So I learned years ago, and I'm going to go and be very transparent, but years ago, Bishop Caesar started this years. And when he first started it, I was in so much debt. I was being smothered. And I made up my mind back then that I would clean up my life in the area of debt. And today I'm debt free. My credit score is good. My credit score is great.
Amen.
And I put it, and nobody's knocking me down my house or my phone for money. So whatever age you are, especially the young people, like Minister Sherry said, teaching her kids, those girls, when they get in their 40s and 50s, will have some big money.
Yes.
If they continue to save now.
Right.
So this is so good. Thank you, Raloom. This is so wise and so needed in the body of Christ, especially because we're not taught. Many churches are not taught like we are. We're blessed.
We are.
So, first, this is wonderful for letting me speak. Thank you.
Amen. Delroy, you had something, a comment, and then Dr. Sunday.
Yes, I was about to say that what we are discussing now, it may not necessarily just for us, but these are information that we can impart to our children. Now, we may say, okay, the children, they cannot save in mutual fund. That does not mean that they cannot start saving. One of the ways in which we can really start saving is we see little pennies and the quarters and nickels around, start putting them in some little savings box. You would never believe how much you can, when you bring that to the bank, how much you could accumulate. Secondly, when you have those dollars and so forth, spare change, you can just put them in an envelope until you have a sizable amount. Again, you change them out. For younger children, when they start to work, if they don't have enough to say start a checking account or a bank account, then again, save it at home. Eventually, they can start. I expose my children to saving from when they had their first part-time job. Once they start to work a real job, I had them set up in mutual fund. So there are different stages of starting the saving, not just by putting in mutual funds. So I just want everybody to realize that. But for any long-term saving, the best place to put it is where the rich and famous are putting their money, in mutual funds, because there it is invested, and some of it in Europe, some in Japan, some in some of the top companies in this country. So that is why, as a result, we are really co-owners of those companies. That's why mutual fund is so important.
Yes, wonderful. Dr. Sunday? Dr. Sunday, you can unmute yourself.
Okay, I was not allowed to unmute myself. Okay, now.
Okay.
I just want to thank Brother Delroy for the presentation. I remember, like my wife said, over maybe about 17 years ago, he came to our living room and he was talking to us about all these things. Of course, I argue with him every time he comes to my house because my idea, my philosophy about investment is so different from what he was talking about. But we just decided we were going to go with it. And I'm telling you, we have been blessed by everything he has taught us. And we have even taken it to the next level, to the extent that, all our girls, 2 of them is well vested into the stock market and all those other stuff. And the last one is getting ready to start. Because if we start small, you'll get to understand, when Paul was saying, I have learned to live with little and I've learned to live with much. So right now we're on vacation. So what we're doing, we're living with much because we really want to enjoy ourselves. So we are enjoying ourselves. We're doing everything we have to do because we were able to learn to live with little and invest for a time such as this. So if we start small, before you notice what is going on, everything you'll be able to do a lot of things, even in the later part. So I want to encourage everybody that listen to this presentation that it's very important for us to pass it on to our children because we want them to be financially stable so that they will continue to be able to do what God has ordained for them to do. So it's a very good thing. We started it over 17 years ago, and I'm telling you, it has helped us in everything, in all we do, because we have the resources to be able to go out there and do those things. So thank you once again for coming to do this presentation. We really love it. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you so much. Are there any other questions or comments? Yes, Ronald Green, unmute yourself, please. Brother Green, yes.
Okay, Doc, are you getting me now?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, I too want to compliment Delroy, because I didn't know Delroy for a long time. I saw him in the church, but we didn't have a close relationship. But maybe about 7 or 8 years ago, we got together. And one of the problems that we have with people not listening to us is because somehow we don't believe in our own people. But when I met Delroy and he started talking to me, immediately I began listening to him, although I've been around a long time. But he had a lot more to teach me than I know for myself. And just, I think a couple of years ago, he said to me, Brother Green, do you know how much you have in your mutual fund? I said, no. He showed it to me. And for the little bit of money that I put in, what I had in there was quite a surprise to me. So sometimes we need to be listening, not just to people, but to our own people, because we do have a lot to teach if others will listen to us. So thank you, my brother. God bless you. I appreciate you very much.
Thank you.
Dr. Coney, let me say something before
Yes.
just put it in perspective. Brother Green said he started about 7 years ago. That means Brother Green's already over 70 when he started. I know he just turned 80. So
That's
that
right.
tells you're never
Too
too
late.
old. So just take it from here.
It's never too late. It's never too late. But the thing is to take that first step, to develop that mindset. Just as Pastor Bev has said, we've had that teaching. I don't know how many years we've had that teaching. I've been a member of Bethel since 1989, 88, 89. And I know we've had that teaching: tithe and give the Lord an offering, pay your bills on time, save systematically and invest wisely, spend wisely and responsibly. Don't spend what you don't need, don't buy what you cannot afford, live beneath your means. And if we would all take those principles to heart, we would have more than enough for ourselves, enough overflowing that we can take care of the widows, okay? That we can take care of those who are struggling to come along and teach them how to come along in this same path. So I don't want to keep us any longer, but thank you so much, Brother Delroy, for coming onto the platform tonight, for giving us valuable information. And certainly, if anyone wants to discuss anything privately or in more detail, you can most certainly reach out to us at Relume Foundation, and we will put you in touch with Brother Delroy and his company. And, it doesn't cost anything to learn. He's a teacher, as you saw by his bio. He is a teacher, okay? And he's here to share his knowledge, his information with us. And so, we're grateful for his ministry, because this is a ministry that he's doing to teach us our way to financial wellness. So I want to thank everyone for coming on tonight. I'm grateful for each and every one of you. We will return next week with COVID-19 pandemic updates, but just briefly, the rates have fallen drastically in New York City, so we're grateful to that. But I would remind everyone to please get vaccinated, boosted, okay, wear your mask indoors, especially if you're uncertain of who you're going to be around. Wash your hands and watch your distance. And with that, I would ask that God be with us, protect us, give us provision, and we know the promise that he has made to us as believers. So thank you all, and have a wonderful and great evening.
Amen. Thank you,
Thank you
everyone.
very much again for having me.
For those
And
that
bless you.
say that again, Brother Delroy.
Yes, I was just saying thanks very much for having me, and I trust that everyone will have a safe and blessed week and continue the good work.
Thank you so much, Brother Delroy. Thank you, Dr. Crony. So for those that came in late, don't worry. This is being live streamed on YouTube. I'll send the link to everyone immediately after this meeting. Thank you so much. Dr. Crony, you're